Tom Cotton. By the way, welcome to the show. It's Hal Sparks Mega Worldwide. I'm in San Francisco this weekend because I'm doing stand-up, so the format's a little different. That's where we are. And I don't want these. Turn that off. Tom Cotton's on Fox saying our adversaries are taking advantage of us at every turn. So this is part of his big America Sucks Brigade talk. He's been on this diatribe for a while, and granted, as a member of the Senate,
the Senate Armed Services Committee, Senator,
as a member of the Senate, he has a tendency, I think, that they've got a long form strategy that nothing can work in this country unless they're in charge, and when they are in charge, everything that's failing is someone else's fault.
Morning to you today. The foreign minister in Ukraine.
Yeah, he didn't mean good morning yesterday when you weren't on, just to clarify. Thanks, Bill. Thanks, that's good. Is somebody in the control room going, what the fuck is he talking about? Why would you, who gives a, what do you mean today?
A fine point on this, saying that a country cannot be half invaded. Are we making progress on this or not?
Well, yeah, they can. They can be cyber attacked, for example. That'd be one of them, where technically speaking, they are doing something that would be damaging to infrastructure, dangerous to people's lives, and yet they haven't fired a shot. So that would be one of the areas. But hey, I thought we were adults having a conversation.
Unfortunately, Bill, I don't think so. Our Secretary of State met with the Russian Foreign
My lunch is on fire.
Minister this morning.
Whose idea was it to have a cookout in a war zone?
As is often the case throughout history, I don't think that was diplomacy trying to avoid a war on Russia's part. I think it was diplomacy stalling until the conditions are right for war, which for Russia are getting all of its troops in place and waiting for the right weather conditions. All this, though, is happening not in a vacuum, but in a year, in the context of a year.
By the way, this is Russian training footage put out by the Kremlin. It's all very macho. And I hope, unless this is Ukrainian stuff, which looks exactly the same.
President Biden's appeasement of Russia in the first months in office.
But Russia put out a bunch of this stuff like they were getting ready.
He gave away the store on a nuclear arms treaty to Vladimir Putin. Then he allowed Vladimir Putin to continue to construct the gas pipeline that's going into Germany. And then, of course, Vladimir Putin saw the debacle in Afghanistan.
It's weird. He lets him do it, and then Putin gets more angry. That's a point of conversation we haven't really talked about. Never mind the fact that, again, I've argued that making this a choke point, I'm going to squeeze this down and move this over a little bit, is that letting Nord Stream go through creates a choke point for us. It bottlenecks the Russian gas industry and allows us to stop it in the future in a way that doesn't require us killing human beings. And not just us, lots of people. And so it's something that they'll have to deal with. It's now their biggest worry is that's the way that they're going to get their gas to the market. So they've got to protect it. And we're not letting anybody insure it. So they're cash out of pocket, and their own people have to go in and repair it if anything happens to it. Awfully nice, pipeline you got there. It's a shame if somebody were to set fire to it. So one of the other aspects of this, I suppose, is that somehow Biden is being nicer to Putin than Trump was, allegedly, because he's allowing Nord Stream to continue, although there are heavy sanctions, like I said, on the insurers. And yet, that actually pushed Putin to a more aggressive stance. You don't think for a second that he might be aware of how dangerous it is to put all their eggs in one basket and recognize that that's exactly what's fucking happening? And that he's being flanked in Kazakhstan? No? Nice way of thinking of the United States. That's, yeah.
Stand that exposed President Biden as weak and feckless. And then just a couple days ago.
By the way, that's so we're watching. Okay, this is Ukrainian footage now. The other guys, the guys who were getting the explosions around and were climbing the tires, that's Russian. This is Ukrainians moving their gear in. So, and this is, by the way, an American senator talking about the American president during a negotiation between our countries, between the U.S. and Russia, involving Ukraine, by the way, calling him weak and feckless. So that's nice. That's good.
He heard exactly what Joe Biden said when he went off script, not when he was reading from talking points, not when he sent out underlings to speak about what he meant. He spoke about, quote, a minor incursion. Or like the president of Ukraine alluded to, incursions are kind of like surgeries. They're only minor when they happen to someone else.
Yeah, he's talking about cyber attacks, by the way, that we're not going to nuke them because of a cyber attack, because they already just had one. A material incursion, crossing the border. That's what he was talking about.
Now is the time to try to avoid this war in Eastern Europe. The last thing the American people want to see is a war that undermines any of our interest in Europe. So we need to continue to provide the Ukrainians the weapons they need to defend their own country.
Which we are.
And we need to make it clear the sanctions and other economic and financial consequences Russia will face if they invade Ukraine again.
We are. Again, where's the difference in here? Is it just how macho Tom Cotton is presenting this information? Is that what we're doing? That's the difference between what Tom Cotton just said and what Biden said, is that Tom Cotton said it in a way that was all buff and stuff.
We need our NATO partners to be united with us on that as well. I want you to
Yeah, they are. And
at media montage. I'm sorry, this is administration officials. You have Blinken, Psaki, Harris. Everybody was out trying to figure out a way to put the president's comments back in a bottle. Did it work? Let's take a look.
We've been clear.
I think you heard very clearly multiple times last night from the president. The president has been crystal clear.
Let me be very clear on what the president has conveyed directly to President Putin.
The president was very clear. He's got a plan to do that.
It is clear to us that the decision is probably in his hands. We are clear and have been clear for quite some time.
Senator, in my experience, if it's clear, you don't need to have lots of different people explaining how clear it is.
Well, if you're talking about negotiations where you're not present, you do. And in 80% of those clips you just showed, because I don't know the context, because you curiously removed the context from it, Fox News, when you put them out, is that some of the stuff that was said in that was referring to their conversations with the Russians directly, not what they've said in public or at a lectern or even in a press conference, but in their direct negotiations. That's what they're talking about. So,
Yeah, I think it's clear as mud, Dana. Another telling moment when Joe Biden went off script was yesterday when your own Jackie Heinrich asked a very good question. Why is he sitting around waiting for Vladimir Putin to make the first move? And he called that a stupid question.
it is a stupid question. No one's waiting for him to make the first move. Also, what's the first move, dumb fuck? What qualifies? Yeah, why is he waiting around for Putin to make the first move? Why don't we just bomb them? Why are we waiting around for them to fire the first shot? Why don't we fire the first shot? Okay, first of all, that on premise is fucking lunacy. Then, why are we just waiting around? Well, they're diplomatically talking to Russia on multiple fronts. They're arranging sanctions. They're talking to allies. The allies are aligned with all of those sanctions. They're coordinating all of those things with NATO and with our allies. They're not just sitting around waiting for Putin to make the first move. It was a fucking stupid question. It is stupid. Why is Tom Cotton, here you go, I'll show you. Why is Tom Cotton just sitting around waiting for Putin to make the first move before he presents a bill to the floor of the Senate that declares war on Russia? If you think that's what it's going to lead to, if he thinks this is a bridge too far, if it's an aggression that threatens our European neighbors, why is he waiting? Tom Cotton, why are you waiting for Russia to make the first move? Like, this is fucking ridiculous.
Actually, it's a very good question, not just about Ukraine, but about foreign policy under the Biden presidency in general.
What are you talking about? We reached out to them, told them what our stance was, and then they called us and said, we'd like talks. They're currently drafting paper answers to the Kremlin stuff, questions, so that nothing's, that in the group dynamics of talking about stuff, that there is nothing taken for granted in these situations. This is where we'll go. This is what's okay. This is what's not okay. That's what they're doing right now. What the fuck? What's the alternative? What is the suggestion here? What is Tom Cotton suggesting? The missiles are away, hallelujah. And secondly, you gotta think. I mean, honestly, the dude knows this. Look how low energy he is. Everything's just kind of blah, blah, blah. I don't know. Well, this is something. Like, he's just running through this perfunctory anti-Biden bullshit.
Look, when it comes to international politics, either you run the show or the show runs you.
Yeah, you say it, man. That's right. Sometimes the bar eats you, and sometimes you and the bar eat each other, and kind of this bar you 69 thing. You know what I mean?
And for the last year, President Biden has been allowing the show to run things, and that's why our adversaries, not just Vladimir Putin, but Xi Jinping and the Chinese Communist Party, have been taking advantage of us at every turn.
And they have not. Do you think this asshole doesn't know about the AUKUS agreement? He doesn't know that our ships and our subs are doing laps around Taiwan right now? That we are partnering with Japan and Australia to push back against China, and that Japan and Australia, with our blessing and with some of our supplies, are pushing back in another angle against them? Think he doesn't know this? So what's he doing? What is this? Why would you bring this shit up? Talk about this issue, not bring that stuff up, if you weren't just cheering for the other side?
It's time to get off the back foot and get on the front foot to get the outcome that Americans want, which is to avoid a war.
Yeah, get on the front foot to avoiding a war. What the fuck is the front foot? Again, you got to lean into not punching. What the fuck is this dude talking about?
That undermines our interests.
Senator, last question here. You heard what Mitch McConnell had. He had 3 specific ideas for how you could help Ukraine now defend itself. Is there a motion for this to happen?
There is. It needs to be happening faster and at a higher volume. The Biden administration has dithered for too long, not just in providing Ukraine with our weapons to defend against Russian armored columns or Russian aircraft, but approving our allies in NATO who want to do this. Oftentimes they need American approval because it's American technology. And just yesterday did they finally give approval to some of our NATO partners. We need to accelerate those approvals. We need to...
How do you accelerate an approval that already went out? And why weren't you talking about this 2 months ago, saying we need to accelerate those approvals? He's literally only bringing this shit up because they just already happened. Whatever just happened, the thing that just happened, didn't happen fast enough. Well, then why didn't you bring it up before it happened? Well, because we got to be on the front foot.
Our European partners to do their part to protect European security, because ultimately they have to do as much as we're willing to do to help deter this invasion from happening. As much as the American people don't want to see a major conflict in Europe, you would have to assume that the European peoples don't want to see one even more. We need to stand with them and encourage them to do more.
And again, just is fappery. This is just nonsense. Yeah. Whole lot of neck, not a lot of thought. There's a lot of neck and no head going on there. Again, look at his face. Is it just me, or does he look like embarrassed to be saying this stuff? I mean, I know you have to go on in this day and age and, as a Republican, be a complete shitheel about your own country. You can't go on there and go, well, we're doing certain things, but here's a couple of crucial things that I think would be better. He's not. He's just coming in and talking in these bland, bizarrely lame ideological platitudes.
Senator Tom Cotton, thank you so much. We'll probably be talking to you next week as well.
Thank you for being here, Bill. Jesus Christ, is it bourbon? What's happening?
Tom Cotton, thank you so much. We'll probably be.
Oh, it's easy to grin when your ship comes in.
Talking to you next week as well. Thank you. We appreciate it.
Jesus Christ, I did not realize how drunk Bill Hemmer was during that whole thing.